This is for plumbing. If you get into an older house and you might have to replace the entire plumbing, or you might just replace a portion of it. And so in this case, if maybe one of the 3 baths or one of the 3 lines needed replaced, you could put 0.3 in there. In this case, the plumbing system, it was a relatively newer house, so we did not have to do that. So we don't have any additional plumbing service. You could certainly put in any figure you want there, or put a direct entry in there if you just wanted to put, let's say $500 in there. You could put direct entry and just put $500 as the amount that you would add to that for that. So in this particular case, we didn't have that, so we didn't need that figure. Okay, moving down, as to refresh a house, to make it look shiny and sparkly, we almost always replace the electrical switches, plugs, and switch plates just to make it look nice with the new paint job. We do that for the whole house, typically for $200 a property, so we selected one there. We are going to put a ceiling fan in one of the rooms. None of the electrical needed upgrading. Sometimes we'll just upgrade the panel. Other times we'll upgrade the entire service to code. And that's a much more expensive thing. So if you were going to select that, that would be the figure for that. This is clean out. As you get a property, sometimes you get a property that's totally been emptied. Most of the time you're getting a property that you need to do a significant clean out to it. In this case, we budget approximately $550 a property. That certainly can be much higher depending on the mess, or not at all. So you can either put a direct entry down here for the figure, or you can just go with your default figures for speed purposes, okay? Also, many times we're going to bring a dumpster on site as we do our demo and our renovation, and we're also might have some insect exterminating expenses for bugs, obviously pests, anything like that. And then once we're done with the renovation, we almost always do a final cleaning there to complete the property and stuff. This is your miscellaneous section. If you had other items that you wanted to put in there, other work that wasn't on the standard that you wanted to make sure you accounted for as a repair cost, you can easily just enter those items, enter the repair cost, and save it, and that will do that for you. Moving over to the exterior, so now we're walking around the outside of the house. If we notice any type of cracks in the foundation, things like that, you can certainly add that to the property to make sure you have the costs in there for the foundation. Again, the idea is brevity here, to be able to walk through a property quickly, get these costs down so that you can at least get yourself in the ballpark for repairs and things. We're always very conservative. We want to make sure we add a repair in there if we think we might need it. A vapor barrier is something we use in our region of the country to make sure moisture does not come up from the basement or crawl space area into the living area. So we will install a vapor barrier in most houses that we work with. This particular house was on a slab, a concrete slab, so there was no vapor barrier possible. We can insulate crawl spaces or insulation just for the basement itself. This is the roof component of the exterior. If it needs a new roof, whether you're going to put a 15-year roof on or a 30-year roof, how much of a tear-off you'll need. So let's just look at the 30-year roof. Because it's a 2-story, if you remember, it was 1,568 square feet, but it was a 2-story, so you take half of that, but then it had a garage, so that the program automatically calculates an additional area for the garage, and then of course subtracts because it's a 2-story versus a 1-story. Anyways, this particular home, as you might have noticed, it's a Dutch colonial, so it had some shingles wrapping around the front of the house. So I actually put a quantity in there of an additional 30% shingles. So you can see that we're going to shingle approximately 980 square foot living area, which includes the second floor of the house, plus the garage, plus a little bit that wraps around the front of the house. So we would hit calculate and save, and it comes up with it. We can replace that roof for about $4,500. Same thing happens here with tearing off, is that if there's some additional tear-off expenses there for the roof, or whether you're re-roofing over the old one, whether you're going to add gutters and downspouts, and if that's the case, you're going to measure the length of the gutter run in linear feet that you're going to use. And for this particular area of the country, we can install gutters for about $2.30 a linear foot. This particular house does not need gutters, so we're not adding it to that. This house has vinyl siding, so we are going to power wash the siding. We've got 1,768 square feet, including the garage. of power wash at that price per unit foot. So we're entering that. So as I go down through here on all these items, okay, siding repair, there was a little bit of damage to some of the vinyl siding that we're going to repair. Again, that's a direct entry figure. The exterior does not need painted, okay? If the construction of the house is vinyl and it doesn't need painting, we don't have it there. If it's a brick house, 100% brick all the way around the house, we label it like that. However, the fascia, the soffit, and the shutters many times needs painted. So for a 100% brick house with an area of 1,768 square feet, if you put that in there, it would come out with a calculation for approximately what it would cost to paint that. A 75% brick house might have the gables with siding or plank boards or something like that. In that case, it would be a different estimate for that. And then if there's a front porch and a rear deck, you're going to go ahead and select that and put a direct entry in there. What would it cost me to paint or pressure wash the rear deck, so that you can total that. So as we walk down through all these, power washing the driveway, or maybe you have to replace an entire driveway. In this particular case, the homeowner had replaced the windows relatively recently, so there were no window charges. We basically just break this up into 4 categories just to make it simple and quick. A picture custom window, which is a very big one, has a different unit cost versus a large window, versus a medium window, versus a small window. And I will explain that a little bit later. Your heating and ventilation air conditioning system, whether it's a heat pump, a furnace, or whatever, some of them are in good shape. You just clean and service it for approximately $250 to $500. If you just want to replace the outside heat pump, it is that price. You can install ductwork. In addition to that, in this particular case, it was just the exterior unit that we're going to replace. The ductwork was in good condition. When we're done renovating our house, we're going to make the landscaping look all pretty and refreshed. Sometimes there's shed work to do in the backyard, and we're always going to replace the mailbox and put new house numbers on the property and things like that. And again, this section is for any additional repairs you may want to do, okay? And then this just categorizes as a miscellaneous section what year the house was built. If a house was built in the 1920s to the 40s, there's always a larger risk factor associated with it versus a house that's built from the 40s to 60s. Still a risk factor, but a little bit less. And as you get newer and newer, the risk factor becomes new. So if we were to select this house was built in the 1920s, there would be a repair contingency that would automatically be calculated in there for any surprises you may encounter while you're doing the repairs. So after we've come to all of this, now we've come up with a market value to sell the property of $148,000. We've come up with repair costs of approximately $37,000. This is a configuration program. You really don't have to fool with this too much, but basically we've got an after repair value that we're going to use the calculated method for that. You can also directly enter if you know what the market value is of the property, or you can use a website to use that factor, but we're going to use the calculated method here. We're going to sell this property retail, meaning we're going to go ahead and renovate it versus wholesaling it or holding it for a rental, but those are 2 selection categories also. And then this will automatically calculate your hold time based upon the amount of repairs versus the market value of the property. A higher repair value house is more risky and will take more time than a lower repair value house. So in this particular case, the program is calculating that it's going to need about 7 months to renovate it and get it back on the market and get it sold. As a safety factor, we're putting in an additional 3 months. And so basically it's telling us that we're going to take about 10 months by the time we buy this property, get it to market. This is an interesting factor because this is the median factor in the market, which is $146,000. If we're buying properties that are way above or way below that, it also assesses a risk factor to that. You do not have to mess with that at this point in the program. It will already pre-calculate that for you, and it will also calculate the buy factor for you, which is the calculation factor it used to come up to your final value. And same thing with the profit margin. You can alter these numbers if you have a particular target profit margin you want, or you can go based on the risk factor calculated from the app. So after we've done all of that, and we're in front, we're sitting in the car, figuring our analysis, getting ready to present an offer to the owner, Everything is plugged in now. Basically, the program is telling us that the house is worth $148,000. The repairs are approximately $37,000. It calculates an as-is value of approximately $111,000. Our particular expenses to run our renovation business, the overhead, the closing costs, the selling expenses, all of those things that are configured in the program come out to be $26,000. Our margin, our profit margin target that we want to make as a minimum on this property is $21,000, and so our buy factor is 60%. Again, all of this is calculated for you by the app. So we're telling ourselves that really the maximum offer price we want to make on this property is about $52,000. I ended up making an offer on November 22nd of $53,000, okay? A few weeks later, the offer was accepted. We went back and forth a couple of times, and the offer was accepted at $56,000, and that was on December 2nd. So we had a gross margin directly associated with the property of $38,000 as profit margin on that property, or a 26% margin. So we're all done now. We can present this offer in writing to the client. We can also email this to our office to type up a formal offer if that's the way you present it, but we always like to present an offer in person. So anyways, that's the way you've then presented the offer itself. We'll go back then to the home screen here. These are the local settings that you would set up that I will explain to you in a different segment of the property itself. All the different factors that are already pre-configured for you, but you may want to go in and fine-tune that specific to the market. The financial part of the program, the repairs, these are all your costs per unit for each area of the house, specific to the area of the country you live in. Okay, and then some of the other miscellaneous things that we use as factors of safety. And then your application settings, you can certainly reset your local data. You can get help. These are all about the help as well as the directions for the app itself. And then just a little bit about our company, Clear Blue Investing, and what we do. So I hope that was helpful to you. While this app was designed for the residential market in the U.S., it's interesting that almost half of the purchases for this app have occurred outside of the United States. So we're pleasantly surprised to learn that real estate investors in countries such as Australia, Switzerland, Sweden, as well as the United States are using this app to purchase residential real estate. So I hope you found this to be educational and helpful, and I hope you'll support the app.